Who knew? You probably, but I did not. Hi, welcome back to my channel, Mrs. Shank. If you're new here, that's me. My name's May, and this is episode 2 of Knit With Me, a weekly knitting podcast / video series that I'm putting out every Monday where I share all my crafty stuff from the week before. Most of the time it's knitting, but I also love to cross stitch and needle felt, and this year I'm doing a lot more sewing. So I think the format that I'm going to go with for these videos will just be like in the order that things happened in throughout the week. So I'll just jump into that right now. So when I was going through some of like my crafty footage and pictures from the past couple of weeks, I came across this headband that I didn't really talk much about. I did post on Instagram, but I didn't talk about it in the last video. The idea is so simple and the result is so cute that I have to share it with you. So originally I found a pattern on Ravelry called Headband with a Twist by Morella Moments. But I was knitting the first one in the car on our way like up north on our post-Christmas road trip, and I didn't want to fiddle around with a pattern I wasn't familiar with. So I just cast on 34 stitches and I did a knit 2 purl 2 rib. So first of all, this pattern calls for a DK, and I really wanted to use this incredible fingering weight yarn that I got at the Natural You trunk show at Unit here in Toronto. They're Bloor in Ossington and online, of course, so I'll link all that stuff in the description. I'll link everything down there, obviously. So Natural You, sorry for outside noises. Natural You is also local to me. They're not in Toronto, but they're in Ontario. They're actually a mom and daughter duo based in Bracebridge, and they're all about ethically sourced, naturally dyed yarns, and some of their yarns are actually botanically dyed. So they're naturalu.ca and they're naturalu on Instagram as well. So I had this incredible fingering weight yarn from them, and I decided to hold it double to make it thick enough. Well, I know that's not really a groundbreaking idea. I had never done it before, and Katie, someone from our weekly knit night, had recently made a beautiful hat by holding fingering double, and that's where I got the inspiration from. So thanks, Katie. This colorway is called Starburst, and it was dyed with rose petals. You can actually see the little flecks of different colors in the petals and a little soft yellow from the stems. Like, it is amazing. So I'm in the car and I'm doing this rib, and I just knit this long ribbing until it fits like around my head with a little room left over. And then I use the video from the Headband with a Twist pattern to knit the twist, like to sew the twist itself. It's pretty simple. You basically just like fold the whole thing in half widthwise, and then you twist one side of it. So when you bring the two ends together, you kind of sandwich them to, anyway, it's in the video, but you just like sandwich them together and then sew it up. It's super easy. So to make sure that I had enough yarn, I weighed the whole skein before I wound it, and then I just made sure that I wound 2 balls with the same weight, and I ended up getting 2 headbands out of one skein of the fingering weight. And I also had enough left over to make a few little hexie puffs for my beekeeper's quilt, and I want to say that each ball was 50 something grams. So here's what it looks like finished with the twist there, and how, wide it was in the back. It just took a couple hours to knit up, and the sewing took no time at all. So I made a couple more from my Advent minis. Actually, I got the Sugar Tots fingering weight Advent calendar. Those minis are 20 grams a piece. So I made this with that, and I'll show you. You can kind of see a little bit better on the back. The fun thing about using these minis is that you can use contrasting colors, you could use complementary colors, and I feel like they always end up looking so good just because you're mixing these colors together. And these guys are 20 grams each, so I needed 2 held together, and 2 at a time basically did like one of these. I had like little tiny bits left to not even make a whole hexie puff with. So yeah, they were a really good use of the Advent calendar and really quick knit. So I made 2 of these. One I gave to Chris's cousin Jennifer, which was the whole reason I did them in the first place. And then one I kept because it was so cute when I finished hers. I really wanted one too. And then one of my daughters was smitten when she saw mine, so she wanted me to make her one. So this one's fun. Okay, so moving along. On January 2nd, our first knit night back after the holidays, I cast on for my first sweater. I have been knitting for 16 years and I've never fully completed a sweater until now. So the backstory here was before Christmas, we were all talking about what knits and other projects we wanted to do in 2020, like at our knit night. And if you're a crafter on Instagram, then you're familiar with the Make 9 hashtag, where you make like a cute grid of 9 projects you want to make throughout the year. I post them on Instagram, of course. So we were all talking about that, and I said I really wanted to make a sweater because I've been knitting for so long, and I'm actually pretty good at knitting socks. And then we started this knit night at the store, and all these women are knitting amazing sweaters after only knitting for a couple of years. So I really wanted to do one because like I just felt like if they can do this, I can totally do this. So another knit night friend, Natasha, she's actually a sewist and very talented at Japanese sashiko embroidery. She's learning to knit and has been working on a pair of socks there on knit night. So she told me that she found this Instagram account of a woman who was knitting matching sweaters for herself and her 2 small dogs. And I was in love. Like if you follow me on Instagram, or really if you've seen any of my videos since last summer, you probably already know that I have a Chihuahua pug mix named Nacho and that I love him so much I can hardly stand it. So anyway, the Instagram account Natasha showed me, her name is Dana, and her story is, of course, more complex and interesting than her beautiful matching sweaters with Jelly Bean the Chihuahua. But she does knit a lot of amazing sweaters, and she does make matching ones for Jelly Bean. So her blog is called Yards of Happiness, and her Instagram is callmedwj. So anyway, the picture that I fell in love with was from July. It was her and Jelly Bean in matching wide striped sweaters. The pattern is called the Super Simple Summer Sweater, and that was my first choice for my McNine. And spoiler, this is the sweater. I'll show you more in a bit, but details first. So the pattern called for a Retrosaria yarn that Unit didn't have in stock, and I really wanted to start immediately. So I went with the Barocco Vintage because it's machine washable, and I was just thinking like Nacho's sweater probably should be machine washable because he's a dog. It's very, very soft too. Hi, Nachos. Started to agonize over the colors, and I kind of wanted to go bright, but I almost always wear darker colors, so I ended up choosing dark denim here and oats. I showed the cast on and a lot of the beginnings of the sweater in the first episode of the series, but now that I'm done, I'm going to show it all to you again. So here, all along here and here, I was supposed to do evenly spaced out make ones, and honestly, every time I come across and make one in a sock pattern, I just do a knit in the front and in the back to make that stitch. But this time I thought, I'm going to do this properly. So I watched some videos on how to do it, and then I did it wrong. So I have these evenly spaced out little holes along the yoke of the sweater, like 2 rows of them. I showed my sister at Knit Night last week, and she's a knitting genius, by the way. It's ridiculous. And she showed me how to do it properly. Like it could have been worse because these are evenly spaced, but now I know for next time how to properly do a make one because this is not how you do it. So the sweater is top down. When you get to the sleeves, you put the shoulder stitches on hold, and then you continue down with the rest of the sweater. And then there are the side vents I'll show you in a sec. And this was pretty neat. So once you get down to the side vents, you actually knit just back and forth on one side, like stop knitting in the round to make the front part. And then you do the same on the back to make the back part. And voila, side vents. Who knew? You probably, but I did not. So then back to the shoulder stitches to knit the sleeves. And I will admit right now that I really underestimated how long it would take to knit the sleeves. It took a couple of days. I totally understand why they call it Sleeve Island. But anyway, got them both done. And then I weaved in all the ends. So I cast on January 2nd. I made the swatch at Knit Night, and then I came home and washed and dried it to make sure the gauge was still right. And then I actually started the sweater properly around 11 p.m. that night, and I was weaving in the ends on the 15th. So start to finish, it took me 14 days to knit this sweater. So this is literally my first sweater, and of course I see all my mistakes, but I'm actually really proud of it anyway because I finally did it all by myself. The fit isn't too snug, but it's not super big, and it's really warm. I'm happy that the short rows at the back of the neck seem to be done properly because there's no like tugging back there. And I really, really like the length of the sleeves. They're not super long, like not quite sweater paws, but they're not too short either. So as soon as I finished my sweater, I immediately cast on for Nacho's version. Dana has some great notes and advice she's written on altering a sweater pattern for your dog. I ended up casting on and knitting a bit and ripping it out and doing it a few times that first night. And then I started making really good progress late at night on the 15th. And then by the knit night, the following night, I was on the second little sleeve. And then after that, I had almost finished it. And I have to say, Nacho was so cool about me constantly bothering him to try it on. So once I knew the fit, the issue was making sure that I did the bind off along his belly before I got too close to his bits to make sure he wouldn't accidentally pee on it. And then once I got there, I started the rib, but I made the mistake of doing the rib all the way around. So when it came time to do this bind off, I still had quite a ways to go here, but I had this rib here. So I had to rip all that out, and I just made sure I was back on track with it before I went to bed that night. And then I finished his sweater on the afternoon of the 18th. So I'll get Nacho in his sweater to show you it on him. So he's a skinny little guy, so he actually seems to like wearing sweaters because he's always so cold. I knit it exactly as I did mine, top down in the round, but I did his on DPNs because, of course, his is much smaller. And the sleeveys, look at, they're so cute. They were a little tricky. Basically, I knit in the round till I got to the sleeves. And then I sort of did a bind off where the sleeves go. And then I knit like the sides of the chest and the middle so I'd have stitches to grab onto. And then I used those stitches to make the sleeve, like to knit that in the round. I did make notes along the way though, so I could have something to go off next time. But who knows if that will actually make it any easier? Like, I don't know. Right, Mr. Cheese? Show off your sweater. Like, I know this is the most ridiculous thing, but I love it so, so, so much. Let me show off your sweater, Mr. Cheese. So yeah, it covers his like bum sort of, but it doesn't cover his wiener. And that way he's not gonna accidentally pee on it. So anyway, 14 days to make my sweater, 4 days to knit Nacho's, with 1 day of kind of knitting both of them on the same day. I cannot tell you how excited I am that I finished this, and also that I finished it before the end of January. So originally I was just gonna work on my Make 9 list, like one right after the other, and then do other projects if I had time. But there are so many beautiful patterns from You Knit that I wanna do, and Lane Magazine is coming out with their book of 52 sock patterns. And then every time I watch Cozy Up Knits, they're showing off like another beautiful pattern. So I'm gonna alternate between the list and other things I wanna do as well. I think I'm just gonna stick to making sure I've made good time on the list in order to go off it. And so far, so good. So when I was at the store for Knit Night this past week, I picked up the yarn for the Dream Sweater by Claudia at You Knit. I went with the Loch Lomond from BC Garn. It's 100% Scottish wool that's been spun and dyed in Turkey. It is not a super wash, but it will look so beautiful with this pattern. I got sand as the main color and denim blue as the detail, which is really funny because I realized it's like exactly the same colors as this sweater. Most of the sweater is this color. It's not so stripy. Most of the color is this sweater. Most of the sweater is this color, and there's just some detail along the yoke in this color. So it's mostly like another oatmeal-y sand sweater, which is so funny, but it is what it is. I think I overestimated the yarn and I have more of this color than I will probably need, but I'd rather have it and not need it than the other way around. So I hope I have enough to make one for Nacho. If not, I think I'll just go pick up more. It's not super wash, so he's gonna have to wear it to inside only. He'll be fine with that. And then I'll also show you some of the other stuff I got from the store this week. So I have the Dream Tool Bag from You Knit. I got that for Christmas. It is beautiful. It's made from Merchant & Mills oilskin fabric with leather handles. And actually, the history here is it's made by a single mothers cooperative in El Salvador. So the oilskin fabric makes this little bag look so much more beautiful the more it's used. Like by the time I'm an old lady and my girls get their hands on this, it will look so legit. So anyway, there are these little accessory bags you can add to organize all the little notions and stuff inside it. So Kohana, a Japanese company that makes like all these little doodads and trinket things for crafting, they have a great little bag and the cutest little mini embroidery scissors of all time. And they almost always sell out in the pre-order. So this time the order came in and I got myself both a little organizer and a pair of these tiny scissors. They are so impossibly cute. I cannot stand it. They're very handy for like just grabbing while you're embroidering. I also picked up all the embroidery floss I need for my next cross stitch project, which is a really, really bright and vibrant illustration of Toronto by Satsuma Street. So the Etsy shop is called Satsuma Street. I think I'm saying that right. But the Instagram of the designer is Crafty. I'll link all that down below. So You Knit just got in a massive shipment of Cosmo embroidery floss from Japan, and I had to try it out. So I used conversion charts I found online because the pattern gives me the DMC colors, obviously not the Cosmo colors. So I went back and forth to find the equivalents, and actually I literally would like go to like, there were some colors that are not listed on these conversion charts. So the colors that weren't listed there, I would go look at what the color was at the DMC display and then like walk a few feet over to the Cosmo display and then find a color closest to it there. I've been using DMC since I was a kid and I have no issues with it at all, but I love to try out new things. So I just wanted to do a project that was made just with the Cosmo to try it out. So far, I feel like some of the colors are more saturated, but not all. And I want to say that maybe they're softer to the touch, but I don't know for sure or why that would even matter. But I haven't even used them yet. So as I use them, I will check in and let you know. I also got these 2 skeins of Riverside sock. I wanted to make more of those twisted headbands I was talking about for quick gifts. And 2 people in particular, my dear friends Lindsay and Tabitha, I wanted to use like a red-purple vibe. So I got these 2 skeins to hold together. I know I have a lot of other knitting on the go right now. Oh wait, what I wanted to say about Riverside. So Riverside is Canadian. Actually, Wakefield, Quebec, is that going to focus? Probably not. Anyway, so they're dyed in rural Quebec, which I think is so fun. It's not super close to me, but it's only 1 province over. But anyway, yeah, I know that I have a lot of stuff on the needles, but everything else that's going on, I need to pay attention to. Like, I can't knit this dream sweater and not pay attention. But I can make headbands and not pay attention. And I can make puffs and not pay attention too. But anyway, well, yeah, I got these specifically to make as gifts. And so I just saw these colors and knew that those ladies would love them. So that's why I got those. Also, this is kind of unrelated to me, but I'm going to share it anyway because it's really cute. So Daphne, so Lena was the one that came with me to the pajama pant making class at UNIT, and now we're making pajama pants like nobody's beeswax. But so Daphne wants to get into it. Daphne took a needle felting class at UNIT, and she's all about needle felting right now, but it's kind of funny. So one took needle felting, one took sewing, and now they're both kind of interested in the other. Lena less so about needle felting, but definitely is definitely into sewing. So she asked me to pick her up some cute fabric to make pajama pants with. What are the details on this? It's from 3 Wishes fabric, and I think it's by Sherry McCulley. Super, super, super cute. And when I was Googling it to make sure that I got the company right, 3 Wishes, they have a fabric that's called Sassy Animals, which we need to get to the bottom of because that sounds adorable. But anyway, this is for Daphne to make some PJ pants with. Okay, so the dream sweater. I started my dream sweater late on Saturday night, and I literally started and ripped out and started again and ripped it out again before I really got going. I did a swatch, and then as I was reading the pattern, I saw this sweater is a bottom up and the sleeves are attached after. So this project actually starts with the sleeves. So this is my sleeve progress as of Sunday night. Okay, so once I decided to use DPNs to do the sleeves, my progress went a lot faster. They kind of look at that. You can also kind of see here, if it's going to pick it up, but you can see the little flecks. There's little flecks of kind of like an orangey color going on in there too. Like it's, anyway, I really like this color a lot. Can you see that? A little, maybe. Anyway, so obviously it starts with this rib, which is a little wonky, I'll admit, but my ribs are kind of always like that. Practice, practice. Yeah, and then it has like this seed stitch pattern happening in there too. So I'm keeping track with 2 separate tallies, one for the texture pattern and one for the increases. And so far that's working out pretty well. And remember these, the make one mistakes all along the top of the sweater. Well, now that my sister showed me how to do them properly, that's how I'm doing these increases. I'm doing them right. There's no holes. So thanks, Nikki. So yeah, that wraps up this week's adventures. I am so excited to show you my progress on the dream sweater next week. And if you decide to make it, I would love for you to tag me on Instagram so I can see it too. You can find me on Instagram as Mrs. May Shank. If you're not following me there already, I do post knitting progress pictures and recipes pretty much every day. So thanks for watching, you guys. If you have any questions about anything that I showed you this week, always feel free to ask me in the comments. I always try to answer your questions if I can. And if you're new here, you may not know that I'm also putting out a similar weekly video to this one, but it's all about food and one about organizing. So if you like videos about that kind of thing, subscribe to this channel for weekly updates. Thanks, guys. Bye.